Now on News 6, drinking a beer on the beach lands a local man in ICE detention. What we uncovered. Plus, diverting 50 million pounds of clothing out of area landfills.
That goes Central America, South America, Africa, Middle East.
The organization working to extend the life of our clothes. And where inmates are being used to help step up hurricane protection. This is News 6 Mornings.
And breaking news right now, a stretch of State Road 434 is shut down for a deadly crash. What troopers say happened moments before the SUV burst into flames. Coming up.
And we'll have a live report on that as well. Good morning on your Tuesday at 7 a.m. I'm Crystal Moyer.
I'm Stephen Montero. Justin has the day off. Looks like everybody. Oh, you guys put your drinks away.
I'm hydrating.
They were all hydrating here a second ago.
You know.
I'm like, they just left.
Cheers.
Yeah,
Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday.
He drank all of his Coca-Cola.
No, it's still here.
It's still
okay.
there.
Secret
It's still there.
stuff. Chief, what do you got for us?
Gotta hydrate. Gotta hydrate. This is what happens when I eat a quick breakfast. I'm like, oh wait.
Turn around, get back at that wall.
The things you don't realize between commercial breaks. All right, let's talk about the weather forecast. Listen, you do have to hydrate because it is going to be another scorcher of a day. Look how beautiful though that sunrise is right now across Daytona Beach or Skycam. Right now, delivering a temperature of 76 in Daytona. Same temperature in Sanford and Orlando. Still holding at 74 degrees right now there in Melbourne. Still tons of sunshine, a little less rain in the forecast today, which is why the heat indices are going to be cranking up a little further, up to about 100 to 105 this afternoon. Maybe a touch cooler in those upper 90s along our beaches. If you are planning on enjoying the beaches for today, we're nearing 90 degrees. Surf about 2 to 3 feet. Rip current risk still in that kind of moderate to high range. But if you're going to be out and about late in the day, into the evening hours, potentially across our far western zones. Looks like we could have kind of a late start to the rain and storms across kind of that 75 corridor. We'll have more details on that coming up in just a little bit. Now let's check on those roadways. They're already pretty busy this morning with Trooper Steve.
Yeah, we are under a traffic alert this morning out in the Oviedo area. So this is a Florida Highway Patrol fatal crash investigation taking place at 434 at Hammock Lane. This is highly residential. One lane east, one lane south, west. Whichever direction you're trying to go, it is shut down east of the 417. You're using Mitchell Hammock as your alternate further south from this area, but you need to avoid it as much as possible. More with information on this deadly crash. We send it out to Stephanie Rodriguez.
Hey, Steve. Yeah, we know from Florida Highway Patrol that it happened around 5 a.m. You can see they're still out here this morning investigating. Both of the cars involved in the crash are still here. We know that a Nissan Altima was driving east on 434 when a Jeep Compass was coming west, and that Nissan Altima missed that curve there and ended up hitting that Jeep head on, and the Jeep then burst into flames. We know the driver of that Nissan was pronounced dead here on scene. The medical examiner is here now as they continue their investigation, and the driver of the SUV was sent to a nearby hospital, and their injuries are serious, as you said, Steve. All closed off here as FHP continues their investigation, and it is expected to stay closed for several hours. Again, the cars are also here. They've not removed those. Medical examiner here on scene. Once we have more information about the crash and the identity of the people in the cars, we will let you know. Reporting live in Oviedo, Stephanie Rodriguez, News 6.
Thank you, ma'am. Tax breaks for some, but not everyone got what they wanted in the multi-billion-dollar state budget.
Yeah, state lawmakers took an extra 45 days, and late last night, after weeks of infighting, finally passed a budget. New this morning, News 6's Mark Lehman is live in Seminole County with what this means for your family. And Mark, one very popular tax break for parents survived.
Yeah, there's a lot of concern that the back-to-school sales tax holiday wouldn't happen this year. Well, not only is it happening, but now parents have an entire month to save, and that's happening every year. And those savings can really add up when it comes to more expensive items like backpacks and laptop computers.
The Senate is now adjourned. Sign it out.
A long-awaited end to Florida's legislative session as lawmakers finally agreed on a budget and tax package late last night. Included in the measure is a recurring sales tax exemption for back-to-school items every August.
I think it's awesome. I mean, as a former teacher, that's kind of where we need stuff.
Chris Canone told us he was happy to hear about the tax break. Also included in the package is a permanent sales tax exemption on some hurricane supplies.
Making that a permanent tax break, do you think that's a good idea?
Well, after last year, I think we needed it for a lot longer than we had it for, right?
The agreement happening 6 weeks after the House and Senate reached an impasse over tax cuts and 2 weeks before the July 1st deadline. It passed overwhelmingly late last night with Orlando State Senator Carlos Guillermo Smith, one of the 2 votes in the Senate against the tax package.
I also don't find a lot in this tax package that is actually helping working families. I see a lot in here that helps corporations.
Those remarks from Smith were geared towards an elimination of sales tax on commercial leases and business rents. With everything now passed, the governor now has 2 weeks to sign the budget into law before the July 1st deadline, using his line item veto power for anything he doesn't like. For now, reporting live in Seminole County, Mark Lehman, News 6.
Thank you, Mark. Traffic is finally moving again along I-4 after this fiery crash shut down part of the highway for like 10 hours yesterday. Look at these flames. This happened yesterday morning in the westbound lanes after troopers say a truck hauling fertilizer was hit by a vehicle. Now, the impact caused the truck's driver to lose control and overturn, with the truck then catching fire. Because of the fertilizer, fire crews had to shut down both sides of the highway for hours before things finally kind of got back to normal late last night. Amazingly, the driver of that truck, 59-year-old from Polk County, was not injured and remained on the scene.
New from overnight, President Trump is back at the White House preparing for a possible sit-down with Iran. Here's new video of the president leaving Canada at around 1 this morning. Trump was expected to attend day 2 of the G7 summit, but instead he's heading back to D.C. as tensions build in the Middle East. This is new video showing many trying to leave Tehran after a warning from Trump yesterday to evacuate. At the bottom of the hour, a full look at President Trump's plan and what's on the line if an agreement is not reached. As protests continue over President Trump's immigration crackdown, we're getting a look at one arrest on the beach right here in Central Florida.
I said they read through his stuff and now they want to take him. Okay. He's got a federal warrant.
He has a federal warrant?
Mm-hmm.
Volusia County deputies say Azael Martinez Sanchez first got their attention Friday because he was holding an open beer, which is against the rules. But he ended up being handcuffed and taken to jail after deputies realized Sanchez had a federal immigration detainer.
Meantime, up in Ocala, police are sharing new body cam video of 3 arrests made during Saturday's No King Day protest. Michael Lauren, who is also a member of the Proud Boys, was one of 3 to be arrested. Witnesses say he pushed a protester who was walking on the sidewalk. Police found brass knuckles on him during that arrest. Then Stephen Liberdarni was also arrested. He's already pushed through a crowd and of peaceful protesters, shoving them. The third of the 3 that was arrested was Alexander Krollman. She's accused of hitting someone with a cardboard sign.
This morning, a 17-year-old is facing charges accused in a shooting that left 3 other teens hurt. This happened on Sunday night at the Woodhill Apartments off Balboa Drive. Deputies tell us a group of teens, they got into some type of argument when Javon Mitchell Jr. started shooting. The victims range in age from 13 to 16 years old. All of them were taken to the hospital and are expected to be okay. Mitchell was later arrested nearby. He's now facing multiple charges.
And new this morning, Orlando firefighters are searching for answers after 2 fires at the same duplex just hours apart. Now, this was the video off of West Pine Street yesterday. Flames were seen through the roof. Fortunately, though, no one was home. Sunday night, though, the same duplex caught on fire, displacing 2 people, with one person having to be transported to the hospital for smoke inhalation.
Well, it was just a couple of weeks ago we told you about the push for more mangroves along our coast.
Yeah, it was a great story by Justin, and experts say that mangroves can do a much better job, believe it or not, than a seawall when it comes to the protection against hurricanes. And now one local county is turning to an unlikely source for help. New this morning, Volusia County community correspondent, our very own Angie Casada, out there this morning, is live in Volusia County out at the jail. And Angie, inmates are assisting with this.
Hey, good morning, guys. Yeah, talk about being local, right? Like you said, we just talked about it last month with Justin as far as mangroves being one of our #1 defense when it comes to hurricanes. Now, Volusia County is taking that knowledge behind the gates here at the correctional facility back into the community.
On the grounds of the Volusia County Jail, hope is growing, leaf by leaf. We actually started with like 4 or 5, and it's expanding, and our goal and vision is to do even more.
The county launched this program as storms kept hammering Florida's coast, and natural barriers kept disappearing.
What you see here behind me is various types of lettuces that we've grown. Behind it are some tomatoes. Also behind that, you'll see 2 greenhouses where we're growing mangroves to assist with the cleanup of the Indian River Lagoon.
Commissioner Matt Reinhardt hopes this is just the beginning, not only for the coastline, but for the people trying to protect it.
I'm rewarded just by looking at this and saying this is what our vision was, and this is our vision coming to fruition. I can only imagine what the inmates are feeling as a result of that they're able to plant a seed in the ground and say, wow, look how it grew. Well, not just one, but look how it grew.
It's pretty amazing, and this is just the start. The goal is to expand the program into a full inmate-run farm, aka that means more mangroves, more produce, and then hopefully donating that to local shelters. Reporting live in Volusia County, Angie Casada, News 6.
Wonderful story, Angie. Thanks. You know, those inmates doing something constructive, giving back, and mangroves, something that we really need with hurricane season here.
Oh, absolutely. There's a reason why they were originally here and lining all of our coastline here in Florida, right? Speaking of the coastline, Cape Canaveral, our launch credit union camera, look how nice and smooth the water is at this point in time. Almost kind of looks like glass there, reflecting that beautiful sunrise this morning. The sunrise and sunsets will still have a little bit of some extra color to them because we do still have just kind of a touch of Saharan dust in place. Not as dense as what it has been for the past week or so, but certainly there's still just a little bit of it to give it that nice kind of orangey color. Right now, Melbourne, we're at 74 degrees. We're at 76 in Sanford and Daytona, 75 currently there in and around Orlando. Now, the radar sweeps are looking pretty dry as of now. We're picking up a little bit of rain right off the west coast there over the Gulf waters. That is actually residual rain from late night storms that developed along kind of the I-75 corridor last night. Looks like we could have another round of that, though, later on tonight. Looking at our highs today, the rest of Central Florida looks to stay mostly dry throughout the day. Rain chances at best at only 20%, so that is going to allow those temperatures to heat up a little higher than where we should be for this time of the year. And speaking of hotter, it will be feeling hotter. The heat indices for this afternoon back to about 100 to 105, and that's going to be the story over the next couple of days, although rain chances will be fluctuating a bit. We'll have more details on who has the chance for rain today and a look for the rest of the work week forecast coming up in just a little bit. Now let's check on those roadways with Trooper Steve. He's got your News 6 traffic update.
We've been dealing with this fatal crash most of the morning. This is Oviedo, has 434 shut down, and one of probably the busiest portions out there in the curvature where it transitions towards 419. So be careful this morning. You can see as we click back here just how big this scene is. They have that entire turn in the roadway shut down. Huge shout out to Seminole County Sheriff's Office for assisting FHP with this, but please avoid it. Take a zoom out so you can see on the map. There are issues along 434 at Mitchell Hammock headed in the northbound direction. I think a lot of people are realizing that it is closed, so avoid that area as much as possible. Switching stories here, taking care of your skin, no matter what your complexion is.
Yeah, still ahead, the group expert says, especially at risk of skin cancer and why early detection is so important.
But first, a family remembering the life of one man who died on Father's Day. What they say, he made the ultimate sacrifice.
Well, this man, the man suspected of shooting 2 Minnesota lawmakers and their spouses, killing one of those couples, made his first court appearance on Monday. Vance Bolter is facing several federal and state charges, including murder in the shooting death of Minnesota State Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband in their home. Investigators say Bolter drove a black SUV with emergency lights turned on and with a license plate that read police on the night he carried out the attacks. Authorities also say Bolter went to the homes of 2 more lawmakers on the night of the shootings. One was away on vacation. The suspect left the other house after police approached him. His first victims, Minnesota State Senator John Hoffman and his wife, remain in the hospital.
New this morning, a family is remembering the life of a man who died on Father's Day while trying to rescue his daughter at a Florida beach. So 33-year-old Antoine Wilson went to Fort Lauderdale Beach to hang out with his family on Sunday. But as 2 of Wilson's daughters and his niece were in the ocean, he noticed that the girls were struggling, so he jumped in to help them. 2 of the girls were able to get out on their own, but when Wilson tried to save his youngest daughter, he was pulled under.
A lot of people was screaming, help, help, help. I didn't think about anything. I didn't even told my wife I'm going in the water again. I jumped into the water.
He loved his child, and he was willing to sacrifice his life for his child.
His daughter is expected to be okay. As for the family, they say Antoine will always be remembered for making the ultimate sacrifice.
Yep, dads protecting their daughters. Well, taking care of your skin is important, especially during the hot summer months. Skin cancer is less common in people with darker skin tones, but when it does occur, it can be far more deadly. The reason why is because it's often caught too late. New this morning, Consumer Reports shares critical tips for early detection and steps that could help save lives.
Okay, Mary, let's talk about sun protection.
Skin cancer is the most common cancer in the U.S., but for Black people, cancer signs can show up in unexpected places, and missing them can have serious consequences.
In Black patients, melanoma, the most deadly type of skin cancer, often appears on the palms, soles of feet, or under the nails, not on sun-exposed areas where people typically check.
Reggae legend Bob Marley's death at just 36 is a powerful reminder of how dangerous skin cancer can be. What was first thought to be a soccer injury under his toenail was actually acral lentiginous melanoma, or ALM, the most common type of melanoma among Black people.
Experts suggest doing a regular full-body skin check. And don't forget sunscreen. Even if your skin is dark, dermatologists recommend using at least SPF 30.
Finding a sunscreen that looks natural can be challenging for people with darker skin tones. That's why Consumer Reports evaluated its top-rated sunscreens on a range of complexions from olive to deep brown.
Our main focus was finding sunscreens that don't leave a white cast on darker skin. Turns out there are some great choices out there that work well for everyone.
2 good choices from CR's sunscreen study: Black Girl Sunscreen Kid Spray and Play SPF 50 and Supergoop Play Everyday Lotion SPF 50. And don't sleep on the baby sunscreen. Adults can use them, and they usually rank high on the list there. If you're looking for the right sunscreen for you and your family, I posted a list of Consumer Reports' top tested options on clickorlando.com.
Go check that out, because you might need some of that sunscreen for this story. Some good news for the Epcot fans that are out there. So we now know when Test Track will reopen with an entire new look. Check this out. Disney posted video on social media showing off one of the changes. The scene, featuring 29,000 points of light, simulates how cars with laser-based sensors called LiDAR see the roadway around them. Now, the future is now, y'all. So the new version of the Test Track is set to officially reopen on July 22nd. Disney will soon announce previews for employees and, of course, annual pass holders, but the line's going to be long. Look, these renditions look good. This looks fun.
Yeah, it does. It's really cool. And I like how it's a family ride. They should have just made it a hovering car, though, a hover car.
Planned 50 years out.
Yeah. Very Jetsons, right? But I don't think Jetsons Disney, so that makes sense. That's why it's not.
I'd love to go through a Jetson list and see what we have now.
Oh, it's crazy.
Compared to what we were like, no way.
I mean, you go through the Epcot ball and you're like, did that, have that.
I know, right?
You're
And it's all on my wrist.
You're like, I got it right here.
Yeah.
You just get on that ride to take a nap.
Yeah. And AC. All right, let's talk about the weather forecast. But now you got Test Track and you got Guardians right next to it.
Yes. I love Guardians.
You gotta get some of that traffic out of the World Showcase. All right, let's talk about the weather forecast for today. It's gonna be a little drier than normal if you're planning on maybe taking a fast track to the theme parks today. Rain chances not gonna be too bad. Only about 20 to 30%. A little higher the further west you go. So we're talking kind of the 75 corridor. So if you had the rumbles of thunder, some heavy downpour, some lightning as late as about 11 to almost midnight last night, you might have another chance for that later on tonight. Now it looks like we are going to add a little more rain by Friday into the weekend. Not a whole lot, just not as much dry air that we're experiencing today than as we are heading to the weekend. But no matter what, though, the one thing that nobody from coast to coast will be able to kind of escape from will be that heat. Once again, highs back into those mid-90s, but feeling like the triple digits. Looking here at the water vapor imagery, we've got a whole lot of dry air down to our south. But as of compared to yesterday, it's now starting to seep its way a little further north. So notice, as far north as Orlando right now, we are dealing with some of that dry air in place. Now, yes, dry air will keep things, well, drier, but we still have the sea breezes and they're still going to develop. And if we have just enough moisture in the air, that will be producing some rain. So where the sea breeze is going to be colliding today, that's normally where we see kind of those rock and thunderstorms. Today, it looks like it's going to be more, once again, for our western zone. So if you're going to be in and around the coast, even up and down I-4 and east, most of us should stay relatively dry. Relatively dry. We can't rule out the chance of a rogue shower or two, but again, we will have more of the chance for some showers and thunderstorms late in the night along 75 there. Temperatures out the door right now, we're all in those mid-70s. Maybe you're playing a round of golf later on today. Just make sure to stay hydrated. It's going to be hot. Temperatures mid-90s, rain chances again at about 30%. Looking at the clouds and rain forecast, what does that percentage actually look like? You can see here by 2-3 o'clock, a couple of those scattered showers. Notice everything's pushing out towards the west, and it's not until about 9, 10, 11 o'clock where we could see some of those late night storms favoring again our far western zones. As of now, no tropical development is expected within the next 7 days. Certainly some good news. Although hurricane season has begun, summer, that officially begins on Friday. Now let's check on those roadways with Trooper Steve.
You can see troopers out there taking measurements this morning along State Road 434 as they measure the marks in the roadway here. That's how they determine exactly how this crash occurs. This is a fatal crash investigation that's taking place off of 434 at Hammock Lane in unincorporated portions of Seminole County, just north of the city limits of Oviedo here. So 434 is shut down, and you're using 417 as a bypass and Redbug Lake Road in Mitchell Hammock this morning. Please do not slide all the way up there if you don't have to. DOT cam out here along I-4 showing Champions Gate this morning. We're slow, y'all. Eastbound I-4 right now at Champions Gate, kind of bumper to bumper, but never as bad as it was a few months ago. So just take it nice and easy.
All right, well, changing the rules when it comes to painting your home.
Uh-oh. Up next, the local city to vote some big changes in today.
Plus, some local cadets just received a top honor. You'll want to stick around at the bottom of the hour. We're going to tell you what they did to earn it. Happening today, Palm Coast is expected to vote on a more relaxed ordinance when it comes to the color you can paint your house. In May, News 6 first told you some homeowners were frustrated with the rule of not being able to paint their houses a certain color. Today's vote would determine if homeowners would be allowed to paint their homes shades of pink, lavender, peach, and green, while keeping a ban on brighter colors like fuchsia, magenta, and orange.
Green's not bright.
The city is also discussing rules when it comes to parking work vehicles and driveways. Interesting.
Sorry.
That shot there. Okay. The NHL season could come to an end tonight. The Florida Panthers have a chance to win the Stanley Cup again. Florida won an exciting Game 5 to take a 3-2 series lead against the Edmonton Oilers. And with a win tonight, the Panthers would be the second team in the last decade to win back-to-back cups. The puck drops at 8 tonight in Sunrise. Excited to see that.
All right. Due this morning, a release of some body cam video.
Yeah, up next, a look at what happened in 2 shootings just hours apart involving Orange County deputies.
Plus, President Trump sending a warning to residents in Tehran. What could come next for the United States as airstrikes between Iran and Israel ramp up?
Streaming on clickorlando.com and broadcasting live, you're watching News 6.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Chief Meteorologist Candace Campos. Daytona Beach Skycam looking great across Central Florida. Temperatures this afternoon, after starting off in the mid-70s, we're going to continue to heat up back to near 90, mid-90s potentially. Your beach forecast for today, you can see a moderate risk of rip currents up and down our beaches. Feels like temperatures, though, out the door this afternoon are going to be feeling like 100 to 105 degrees with rain chances again, once again, back up to about a 20 to 30%. Now let's check on how those roadways are doing this morning with Super Steve.
Things not too good out there this morning. We're under a traffic alert along 434 and Hammock Lane. You can see the scene out here of this deadly crash. FHP out here currently investigating. 434 is shut down, so please avoid it as much as you can. If you don't, they're going to turn you around. I-4 much better out at Champions Gate. Seeing some eastbound delays, but not even registering on the map. The news continues next. Remember, you can get updates on our big stories anytime you want over at clickorlando.com.
Streaming on clickorlando.com and broadcasting live, you're watching News 6.
Welcome back. The time is now 7:30 on your Tuesday.
Let's get a check of your top stories. And break right now, a stretch of State Road 434 is closed in Oviedo after a deadly crash. It happened after state troopers say a driver missed the curve at Hammock Lane and slammed into an SUV head on. The SUV then burst into flames.
Florida lawmakers have officially signed off on a big new tax cut package. It's going to mean a permanent sales tax exemption on everything from some storm supplies to sunscreen. It's all part of the new $115 billion budget.
And President Trump returned to Washington overnight, leaving the G7 summit in Canada early because of the ongoing fighting between Israel and Iran. Yesterday, the president warned that everyone should immediately evacuate Tehran without explaining why.
But first, let's turn to the weather locally. It looks beautiful out there. Is that Mount Dora? That is Mount Dora. A few thunderstorms obviously set to spread through the area this afternoon, the same that we typically see. But the heat.
The heat is
here.
On. Yes, it is. You guys make sure you just prepared for that. Other than that, we already know what's going to happen this afternoon. But first, let's get the official from Chief Meteorologist Candace Campos.
Not as much rain across Central Florida, though. Our western zones, Mount Dora, parts of Lake Mary and Sumter County, you're going to have our best chance for some rain later on tonight. So temperatures out the door. We're looking dry all across Central Florida, back into those mid 70s, but there is no way of escaping this heat, right? Even from coast to coast, we are all going to be feeling like 100 to 105 degrees. Look how much your rain totals have been for the last couple of days. Notice where all the rain's been falling. Not across the coast, not even along I-4, but towards 75. This has been the main kind of collision zone of where the sea breezes have been joining, and that's going to be the same setup for this afternoon with rain chances again up to about a 40 to 50%, but it's going to be later on in the night. We'll have more details on the timing of the rain and a look at the rest of the work week forecast coming up in just a little bit. Now let's check on those roadways with Trooper Steve. We are in the red here with that traffic alert.
That's right. This morning we're watching a fatal crash investigation off of State Road 434 at Hammock Lane. I'll give you the traffic information here. So 434 is shut down. This is going to be northeastern portions of the Oviedo area, unincorporated, hence why FHP's working this. Seminole County has the area shut down, and you're using Mitchell Hammock as your alternates along with 417. Because of how serious this crash is, we're going to send this out to Stephanie Rodriguez. She's live out there right now.
Good morning, Steve. Yeah, we spoke with Florida Highway Patrol here on scene. They tell us this happened around 5 a.m. this morning. You can see investigators still here on scene. We know that there was a Nissan Altima, you see it there, that hit a Jeep Compass head on as both were heading in the opposite directions. We don't know why, and FHP tells us they have no idea what caused this crash just yet, but that Nissan Altima, as you can see, hit the SUV head on here this morning, and the SUV did burst into flames. Investigators tell us that the person in the SUV was a man potentially in his late 20s. They were able to get him out of the car before it burst into flames, but he is in serious condition at a local hospital. The driver of the Nissan, however, was pronounced dead here on scene. We're told it was a female, potentially in her 30s. You can see they're still working out here, investigating, collecting evidence to figure out what caused this crash. Once we have more information, we'll bring it to you here on clickorlando.com. Reporting live in Oviedo, Stephanie Rodriguez, News 6.
Stephanie, thanks. New this morning, it took until late into the night, but state lawmakers have officially passed a new multi-billion-dollar budget.
That's right. The budget includes tax cuts that may help you out, including when hurricane hits. News 6 Mark Lehman is looking at how the new budget could affect your wallet. Mark.
Yes, and it could have a big impact if you're shopping at some of the stores here behind me. We know parents always look forward to the back-to-school sales tax holiday. Now that is happening every year. It includes items like laptops up to $1,500, meaning something like this could save you nearly $100.
I move that the Senate adjourn sine die.
2 weeks before a possible state government shutdown, Florida lawmakers finally passed a budget for the upcoming fiscal year. The vote ended a weeks-long stalemate over tax cuts.
Bumps along the way are healthy. I welcome them. I think it makes this a better process. I think it gives us a better product at the end of the day.
For the first time, the tax package includes a recurring month-long back-to-school sales tax holiday. School supplies will now be exempt from sales tax every August.
Any tax break and any relief that they can give to families, I think is a great thing.
The measure also calls for a permanent sales tax exemption on certain hurricane supplies.
I think people can use that money, they can invest it into caring for their home and making sure that it's protected for the next storm.
Last night's vote coming in 45 days past the state legislature's original deadline. Florida Senate President saying the discourse was needed to reach a mutual agreement.
Government works best when we have competing ideas.
With last night's vote, Governor DeSantis has 2 weeks to sign the budget before the July 1st deadline. As for what's covered under these tax breaks, we have further details about those items under this story on clickorlando.com. For now, reporting live in Seminole County, Mark Lehman, News 6.
We love saving money. Thanks so much, Mark. Well, new this morning, the sheriff's office in Orange County has released video showing 2 shootings involving deputies that happened just hours apart. In the first video, you could see a deputy approach Charles St. Fleur outside a store on Hiawassee Road back on June 7th. Things then quickly escalate, with the deputy getting forced to the ground and then punched in the head over and over. During that struggle, OCSO says St. Fleur tossed 2 guns, and when he went to get them, the deputy shot him. The suspect survived and is now facing several charges. Just hours later, deputies responded to a home on North Ortman Drive when they say Terry Washington Jr. came out of a room and charged at a deputy with a knife. Washington, who was said to be having a mental health crisis at the time, was shot and killed.
President Trump is now back in the U.S., leaving a summit in Canada early to deal with the growing fight between Israel and Iran. Trump's return comes just hours after he warned people in Iran's capital to evacuate. And as Amy Kiley reports, there's been big uncertainty about what could occur next.
I have to be back. Very important.
President Donald Trump says he left the G7 summit early to confer with national security staff about Iran and its growing conflict with Israel. It's in a region that contains a crucial oil route and U.S. military bases. The Situation Room meeting follows Trump's call yesterday for an evacuation of Tehran. Reports indicate Israeli attacks there. The defense secretary says he has sent additional U.S. military capabilities to the Mideast.
I want to see no nuclear weapon in Iran, and we're well on our way to making sure that happens.
Iran's uranium enrichment program is now 50 times the level it was when Trump withdrew from a nuclear agreement with that country in 2018.
Iran has already missiles that can reach Eastern Europe. Wait few more years, they can reach the heart of Europe.
Trump says he wants a ceasefire agreement that includes a nuclear deal. 2 sources say he's directing his team to discuss that with Iranian officials as quickly as possible. The White House says the U.S. would defend its regional interests if necessary. Analysts say Israel doesn't have a weapon capable of taking out Iran's Fordo nuclear site. Some say the U.S. does.
Maybe Trump is orchestrating this to make the Iranians an offer he hopes they won't refuse. I suspect they will refuse it.
Amy Conley, News 6.
Just a heartbreaking story in Volusia County. A 7-year-old dies after being found at the bottom of a backyard pool. It happened Saturday at a home off Harding Circle east of Fort Smith Boulevard. The girl's adoptive mother told deputies she asked her to get out of the pool and sit on the couch while she went to check on another child. When she returned several minutes later, the girl was in the water. Deputies say the family members attempted CPR until paramedics arrived. The girl died at a nearby hospital.
Oh, tough story. Taking a live look at the Lake County Jail, where suspended Osceola County Sheriff Marcos Lopez has now been sitting there since he's been arrested 12 days ago. Lopez has a $1 million bond on racketeering charges, accused of helping run a multi-million-dollar illegal gambling operation. But he can't post that bond until he can prove that that money comes from a legitimate source.
They got to show pay stubs. They got to show, maybe some type of legitimate credit cards. If they've sold any property, they got to show the receipts of it.
We'll be watching to see if he gets out with the latest updates here on News 6 and over at clickorlando.com.
Happening today, school leaders in Orange County are set to talk about what comes next for one piece of property that's been at the center of controversy for years. The district has owned the 100-acre site of the old Hungerford High School in Eatonville since the 1950s. A couple years ago, the board wanted to sell it to make way for a new mixed-use development, but the plan faced backlash and even a lawsuit, with some questioning if the land still needed to be used for education and others saying it's leaders in Eatonville who should have the final say about what happens there. Tonight's meeting is set for 1 o'clock.
The group looking to bring a Major League Baseball team to Orlando is now asking for support to make it happen. So the men behind the Orlando Dreamers spoke to the iDrive Chamber of Commerce yesterday. They say they have $2.5 billion in private financing to make the dream a reality. They say they've made their pitch to the Major League Baseball and urged Orange County leaders to voice their support as well.
It is going to take an entire community to make this work and then be successful when we get this team here.
What is your confidence level that Major League Baseball will plant here in Orlando?
I'm here for a reason. I think this is going to happen, and I feel very confident in what we have done to show Major League Baseball that we are here and we're here at the right time.
While there's still no team coming to Orlando right now, it could eventually happen if there were to move, or the MLB could expand.
Interesting. Chief Meteorologist Candace Campos here, and you know, we saw that $1 billion rendering of that stadium, and I'm hoping some of that money will go to some cover for shade.
Yes, I think so. Keep the whole thing air conditioned. No, maybe not.
That would be
maybe
nice.
not. Yeah. All right. Taking a live look outside Daytona Beach sky cam. You don't need air conditioning. You have nature's air conditioning right now with a nice ocean breeze. Daytona Beach currently sitting at 76. Same in Sanford. If you're planning on enjoying the sun in Sanford today, it's going to be a nice day. We still, though, have that moderate to high risk of rip currents. If you don't want to enjoy the beaches, you want to enjoy maybe the water park. Sensing a theme here, ways of staying cool. 95 is going to be our high today. If you're planning on maybe heading out to Volcano Bay. I mean, we have coast, we have volcanoes. What else do you need here in Central Florida? Rain chances this afternoon, though, still sit at about 30%, favoring more later on into the evening. Speaking of this evening, we got the Club World Cup going on, and the match starts at 6 there at the stadium. It looks like we're going to continue to stay mostly dry into the evening hours, but the mention of rain, I think most of the activity will be out towards our western communities this afternoon. So again, we're talking about up and down 75, Lake Marion and Sumter counties. So the same areas that saw the rain and storms late last night could be in store for another round of that coming up in just a little bit. Don't forget that UV index, though, is high all across the area. Now, let's check on those roadways. The Troopers Chief, he's got your News 6 traffic update.
Roadway's still watching this fatal crash right now along 434 in the Oviedo area. Please just avoid this as much as possible. We've covered this as much as possible. Make sure you got the News 6 app, because once this roadway is clear, we will notify you with that notification letting you know that the roadway is open. I-4 looking good, surprisingly, out there. No major issues out by the attractions. Point Siena earlier, crash at OBT, that's been cleared out. And then we come up towards the main kind of split through. Altamont Springs, Forest City towards Eatonville. Currently no issues. Yesterday on patrol, I was in that area checking out the new Wekiva Parkway extension. Great kind of extras out there for drivers. Head to clickorlando.com and you can check that out. Stream currently over at 10 a.m. You can join us online over at clickorlando.com. Time now, 7:43. A group of local cadets is celebrating a big win this morning.
Coming up, why they're being honored and what they're searching for in the future of their program. Well, did you know that the average American buys more than 50 items of new clothing a year? And in a short time, much of that fills a landfill.
It's kind of crazy, right? But there's a way to give our clothes a little bit of a longer life. So new this morning, Julie Broughton's going to help us out. She goes behind the scenes at Goodwill to show us how they're slowing down fast fashion and giving our clothes a second or maybe even a third chance.
You know, it's the idea of the treasure hunt. Everybody loves to hunt treasure. So, and that's what you're going to find here.
They say one man's trash is another man's treasure.
And you never know what you're going to find.
Never.
It's part of the fun.
Oh yeah, that is the fun.
That analogy comes to life here at the Goodwill clearance outlet near Taft.
Goodwill shoppers this year.
Here, there's no map to guide you, just the allure of buying clothes by the pound.
Okay, is this what I've seen on TikTok that people
That's
refer to
the
as
bins? Yes.
Okay, I've seen this.
Goodwill aftermarket manager Angela Mongiovi showed me around. We watched as customers, many of them resellers, rifled through these large bins looking for that special something that others may have missed. It's the last chance for items that didn't sell in Goodwill stores, but it's far from their final stop.
Once this rolls out of here, like you guys saw earlier, it's now going to enter into the aftermarket world. And in aftermarket, we sell everything.
This machinery runs all day and into the night, baling clothing and textiles.
Yeah, I would say I feel like this kind of brings some awareness to our own habits.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah, so
this is when our clothing becomes a commodity.
And then that goes all over.
That goes all over. That goes Central America, South America, Africa, Middle East.
Mongiovi says Goodwill Aftermarket has diverted about 50 million pounds of clothing and household items out of area landfills. And while it's not a perfect solution, it does extend the life of what we buy.
Instead of it ending up in a landfill, like this is going on to somebody else who has a need.
Julie Broughton, News 6.
Well, that's great news. We only have so much land, right? If we're just filling the landfills with clothes, not good there. So I'm glad they're finding a new use for those clothing. Well, a group of cadets in Windermere being celebrated with a top honor that's making national headlines. Windermere's Lone Sailor Division was named the #1 Naval Sea Cadet program in the entire country. Yeah, the program originated in Claremont, moved to Ocoee before finding its eventual home at the Windermere Police Station. The cadets train in monthly drills, leadership, physical fitness, building discipline that could be used in and out of the classroom.
It was definitely a good reward and felt good to be #1. We were number 2 or 3 last year, so it definitely felt good to be #1.
It always feels good to be #1. The program has grown immensely since moving and is looking for a bigger space to accommodate all 40 cadets. I hope they find it.
Congratulations.
Second place sucks.
Yeah, that's
joking.
great.
No, that's
they
amazing.
were second last year, now they won this year.
They upgrade. The fact that they're using what they're learning to keep them focused on the following year. But Candace, you said earlier, these are skills that they're building.
Right.
That they'll last forever, so it's kind of cool.
But they are also dealing with school and
Right.
you know, growing up and family and sibling. And it's just that there's a lot. It's not just that's not just their job, right?
No,
Which
right.
is
That's extracurricular.
extracurricular.
No thanks.
All right, let's take a live look outside. Let's sit back and just enjoy from the inside of our AC. There it is. There's Daytona Beach. Look how nice and calm the waters are at this point in time. The surf's not going to be too bad right now at Daytona Beach. We're at 76, same through Stanford, 74 in Melbourne. But just yesterday, there was a big event going on along the coastline, and I love it because we got a pin about it, so I'm able to show you to you here. Kim sent this in to us. Yesterday, officially was World Sea Turtle Day. Not sure if you guys know. But we had a little green sea turtle here. There's Vader, and that makes sense when you see who's standing next to Vader. How often do you see a stormtrooper on the beach, right? I mean, that's Central Florida all bundled up into one, right? Sea turtles, beach, stormtroopers, why not, right? So they were able actually to release Vader yesterday morning. So may the force be with you, Vader. All right, beach forecast. If you're planning on joining the beaches, don't forget to fill in the holes that you guys might make, the kids might be making, because that sometimes causes some obstacles for those sea turtles who are trying to nest at this time of the year. 90 degrees will be our temperature this afternoon. Rip current risk, though, still kind of in that moderate range. Now let's look here at the water vapor imagery. If you are planning on enjoying the beaches, or listen, you're like the rest of us, just having to go to work and dropping the kids off at summer camp, just making sure that you're packing plenty of water, ways of staying cool, because there's plenty of dry air. So not a lot of rain is going to be falling for us here in Central Florida, but some areas will be seeing some of that rain, and that's going to be once again across kind of our western zone. So let's show you here your hour-by-hour forecast. Our highs today still above average. 94 will be our high today, feeling like the triple digits, but our rain chances do go up a bit, about 30%. For you guys in Lake Marion, Sumter County, again, our western communities, your rain chance is actually going to go up as the sun goes down. Let me show you what I mean here. Clouds and rain forecast. You can see we're all pretty much dry throughout the majority of the day. I think we're good to go if you have any outdoor plans. But again, lather on the sunscreen, making sure you're staying hydrated. By 2, 3 o'clock, a couple of those East Coast sea breeze showers will start pushing further inland. But where the sea breezes connect, even with that dry air in place, there's still just enough moisture to produce a couple of those scattered downpours. But notice how late in the night we could see some of that rain and a few thunderstorms in the forecast. As late as about 11 to about midnight tonight. Meteorologist Jonathan Kangas will be watching the radar very closely all night long. Looking here at the tropical outlook, the good news is no new tropical development is expected within the next couple of days. We have a couple of tropical waves out there, very typical at this time of the year, but we still have so much Saharan dust out over the Atlantic that is really kind of suppressing a lot of that activity. Although the Pacific just has now a newly named tropical storm. Now they're up to their letter E storm. So again, they've been very active locally here, though. It looks like we're going to continue to keep a decent chance for rain as we officially begin summer on Friday. Now let's check on those roadways with Trooper Steve.
Right now, we're watching this traffic alert 434 at Hammock Lane. Fatal crash investigation. You can see the traffic homicide troopers out there in the intersection. Just kind of speaking with the medical examiner right now. Medical examiner out on scene as well. Like I said, this is a fatal crash, so it is shut down. We've been shut down for most of the morning. Avoid it as much as possible. You're using Mitchell Hammock as your alternate. I-4, not bad this morning. East and westbound out there. Even Pleasant Hill out towards the Kissimmee area looking decent. That earlier crash at Point Siena has been cleared out. And then as you come out here to the Winter Springs area, not affected by this crash.
Well, that summer sun is going to be shining bright here soon.
And we know that it can make your car pretty hot. But coming up, I'm going to remind you what is and is not allowed when it comes to tinting your windows. It's time for Ask Trooper Steve, where I get to answer some of the questions that you send in to me. And today, this one, it's a good one from Kevin K. What are the exact details on the tint laws? Let's have that reminder. The breakdown is nice and simple. So from the front side windows, that's the driver and passenger side, your tint must allow at least 28% of light through it. That means no super dark limo stuff up front. For the back side windows and rear window shield, you're allowed a little darker, down to 15% visible transmission. Now, if you're driving an SUV, a van, or a truck, they actually go a little darker in the back windows, and they allow as much as 6%, depending on how your vehicle is classified. Now, that strip that goes across, I like to call it the eyebrow, well, that can extend down towards the AS1. one line that's usually on your windshield, or no more than 5 inches if it's not marked. Remember, there are medical exemptions that are allowed and stuff like this. Just make sure you carry that paperwork around. Bottom line, you can look sharp out there. Just make sure you're out there doing it legal and safe. If you've got a traffic safety question and you'd like me to answer it, head to clickorlando.com. Candace.
All right, temperatures out the door right now in the 70s. We'll continue to have those feels like temperatures back into those triple digits. Now, when it comes to rain chances, we are going to see a few scattered showers developing along I-4, but most of the action will become as the sun goes down later on tonight. That sea breeze collision, you can see it right there between about 9 and 11 o'clock. So if you're watching us or you're going to be in and around areas of Lake Marion and Sumter County, we are going to continue to see a decent shot of some scattered showers, but overall not extremely widespread as we officially begin summer. Steve.
Right now, this fatal crash this morning is what we are concerned about. We should be under a traffic alert this morning at 434 at Hammock Lane. So right now, this is completely shut down. You can see the tow truck here. It means the initial investigation's clear, and hopefully we can have this open in an hour. This is a very busy area of Central Florida, Oviedo there, using Mitchell Hammock to currently get by east and westbound out there. Once it opens up, we're going to notify you from the News 6 app, so just make sure you're driving safely. Thanks for joining us. Remember, we break news over at clickorlando.com.
You can also find all of our stories on our News 6 Plus app for your TV.
Listen, we're going to be here all day long, so join us over at noon and over at clickorlando.com. You guys have a great day.
Bye.
We'll see you.